Ready?
There we go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910, the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. I'd say very valuable information. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private mortgage investment firm, and Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190. You're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Check them out. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. The weather is getting really good. You're going to want to check them out. You can also reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is, what are my 3 favorite colors? No, I'm just kidding. Is which television mother was I? Okay?
Right.
You'll understand what you're into. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show, and we're also on television. You'll find us there. Okay, now this segment of the Best of Investing is brought to you by Crystal Bull. That's Crystal, BULL.com. And if you've ever wondered why the stock market has big up and down days when new economic data are released, check them out. They have it graphically. CrystalBull.com. They have a virtual cornucopia of economic data and their relationships to the stock market trends. Again, that's CrystalBull, BULL.com, as in bull market. Cool. Now, Mark, you guys, before air, were we talking about Prop 13?
Well, you know, we like to talk about investments on this show, and investments include pretty much all of us who own real estate, whether residential, and many of us also own, commercial real estate as well. So, the California government is, or I should say some of the politicians in Sacramento have gone back, or going back again to that, I guess it's that age-old, enemy, Prop 13.
Yeah.
Why is it an age-old enemy? Well, because there's this belief that, after, how many, was it 25 years now? Or 30
more
years?
than that.
Yeah,
more than that, right?
76.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
so,
going to say 35.
so 35 years-ish of Prop 13, that it's caused this, huge disparity and unfairness among various property owners.
Right.
I mean, if you move into a neighborhood, that a mature neighborhood, you could be, and you pay, let's say, you pay $1 million for your house. Well, maybe your neighbor is in that house for $200,000, and it's a huge difference in tax bill. One guy's paying, $2,000, and the other guy's paying,
literally.
Now, to
$10,000.
give a little history lesson,
Right,
the reason that it came up was because real estate prices were starting to go up, and there were older people in their houses. They couldn't afford the taxes. They were being basically taxed out of their house.
Right.
And so
My house is free and clear, but I can't afford the taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
What do they call it? Cash poor and real estate rich. So what they did was they said, well, let's institute this. If you, we can only raise your taxes 2% a year.
Right.
2% a year.
Right.
So it's 1% of the value of your house is determined by the purchase price, plus 2%
all,
per year.
No, but that's not
plus
just
the
1%.
bonds
Plus
and-
the bonds,
Right.
that's that and the other thing.
The mosquito vector control.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But the gist of what Sacramento's looking at doing again is they're not looking necessarily to eliminate Prop 13 for residential property, but for commercial property.
Wow.
And so the idea is that, for example, in California, where you've got apartment buildings, where one apartment building has been in the family for decades and decades and decades and pays very little property taxes.
Right.
And then right down the street, you've got, or in another neighborhood, you've got a similar apartment building that just traded for multiples of millions of dollars, and they're paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes.
So here's the solution. Just lower the taxes of the guy who's paying too much. Don't raise the tax of the people who are paying too low.
So the idea is to revoke the, basically that Prop 13 treatment for commercial property. And so, here's the thing: there are no easy solutions.
There's no
right?
easy.
And I understand the disparity of it. I really do.
Right.
There does seem to be some, inherent unfairness in that you've got 2 identical properties, and one that's just been in the family forever. They're not going to sell it, and yet the one that's traded recently that they're paying their full share. How can the guy that just paid for it? How can he compete with the guy down the street in terms of rents?
Yes, but think about it for a minute though. If in theory, one would think, then again, this may be like a trickle-down theory, but the people who have kept their real estate tax base low are keeping the rents relatively low.
Right.
So, what are you going to do? Then suddenly now you're going to get rid of rent control, or are these people going to turn into slum landlords?
What I mean? Yeah, absolutely. I remember trying to explain Prop 13 because my family's not originally from California, so I was trying to explain it to someone not from California. And so as I was educating myself about it, I became aware of all of these socioeconomic implications of Prop 13. Yeah. Just exactly what you're talking about. I mean, you get these great disparities. Who's right and who's wrong? Yeah, it's very hard to know.
Well, then you get into Prop 8, which allowed people to get their taxes lowered, right? But for some people who were, already at a fairly low base, there was nothing for them to do, right? Like, people, like you said, a mature neighborhood, so they paid $200,000. Their tax base was so low anyway, there was nothing for them to do. Well, then what happens is, as real estate prices go up, the tax assessor has the right to increase those taxes more than 2% a year until they get to the part where they were before. Then they can go 2% a year. So it's a thicket.
Well, and then the other problem is Rob, you brought in an article that is a national article on property taxes, and nationwide, property taxes are only going one direction.
Right, and that's up.
Up. So, do you really want to give the keys back to those folks in Sacramento who really were the cause of Prop 13 to begin with? And obviously, it's not the same people there, but politicians haven't changed in 200 years, if not in 2,000 years. So, I don't like the idea of saying, well, we're going to, exempt commercial property, and then that just becomes another asset class that is going to be abused by Sacramento.
Well, here's the other thing. What about nonprofits, like churches and all that? Yeah. They don't pay real estate taxes at all. And there's a big push for those guys. But then, in theory, they're supposed to be helping the poor and all that. So.
Well, right, by their charter, yeah. I thought you were going to go in the direction of a 1031 exchange because at that point, I mean, you still have that tax shelter in place. So if you've got a commercial property and you sell it and then you buy into another one, you get a benefit there. And not the same thing exactly, but still addressing the commercial or investment.
But you don't get the tax.
No, not the tax basis. I'm just saying, but it's another sort of tax.
Right, real estate has a number of tax benefits because the belief is that the real estate market component of the gross domestic product, or at least the GDP, and what's particularly in California, it's very, very important. It's a major part of strong, and so a vibrant real estate economy is important. And so you've got these various tax favored treatments.
As real estate goes, so the economy goes.
So and we see this coming up more and more frequently now because Fannie and Freddie have been on the congressional chopping block, and they're trying to determine the future of the government-sponsored entities. And when you start talking about this, you can't have that conversation without involving where is government involved in housing. One of the reasons that Fannie and Freddie have been, have this giant bullseye on them is because they're quasi-government entities. They kind of straddle the public and the private sector, and people don't like that because they can't identify who's on the hook for what. But at the end of the day, the argument I see being is one where it is, where does the government get involved in housing? And of course, you've got people on one side of the argument who say, "Oh, government shouldn't be involved in any part of housing." To them, I say, well, if that's true, then should government be involved in the paving of roads and building of bridges? Because if they're not, we've got a very different America. And I believe that real estate, and especially when you start talking about individual home ownership, is such an integral part of a vibrant economy and important economy. And you just can't separate the arguments, which is what I think a lot of people are having a hard time doing.
Well, Prop 13 is clearly the third rail in California
God,
politics.
yeah.
I mean, they're going to bring it up, and they're going to bring it up, and they're going to bring it up, and it's going to be a never-ending debate. I don't see it anytime soon.
Well, it's like the
being
home
repealed.
It's like the home mortgage.
MID, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So what they do is then they'll just you pass bond measures. You tweak this here, you tweak that there, but notwithstanding the arguments in favor, particularly with commercial properties, I just don't see it happening.
You use all these initials, MID, mortgage interest
Yeah,
reduction.
sorry.
Boy,
I'm trying to save you time. Come on.
I know. Now I wasted more time on that. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. Again, the theme is, which television mother was I? Now, remember...
I'm just going to give you our initials.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, here, remember, we want the name of the mother, not the TV show. Okay? All right, first commercial break, first trivia question. Which TV mom had 3 daughters and 3 stepsons whose husband was an architect? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which TV mom had 3 daughters and 3 stepsons whose husband was an architect? Don't touch that dial. The best of investing will be right back.
Alice, no.
No, I can't think
Jan.
of her first name. Marsha.
Marsha.
Sydney. I just can't think of her name.
See, that's it.
Good job.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to make this a little harder.
Alice.
Alice.
That's right. She's still alive?
I think so.
Yeah.
The only one who died was Mike. He had AIDS. The dad.
Because he played for the other team.
Switch hitter.
At the wrong time.
Yeah. I just saw the Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. Boy, I couldn't believe how thin Matthew McConaughey got. Wanted to find out his secret, to kind of.
Yeah, right.
Okay, today is April 5th.
Let's see, second, what are we going into in number 2?
We could go into this. I think we've kind of.
Which horse do we want to beat?
Yeah. Well, I think these are interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Because this is talking about a return to normal consumer
No,
behavior.
it's this way.
They're not. And you might
Did
know
you see
more
that one in
about this.
Seinfeld?
Yes.
They're not
That-
giving up
that
on
was-
the mortgage
he's in
anymore, so they're
driving
paying
his
ahead of
car,
their credit
and
Yeah.
his girlfriend
Or
pulls
they're
up,
like,
and he's
"Well,
just
screw
going
this,
like
I'm
this,
behind."
Yeah,
itching.
you know,
No, he's just itching his
Probably.
nose.
But
I
you
was
expect
itching.
one, right?
And if I was a picker, so what?
Yeah. Yeah. You got it.
I represent
This
all
is
the
also-
pickers of America.
So the conversation with the right
Yeah,
horse is
but
finally overcome by increases.
Have you seen that show Kirsty?
Mortgage balance.
Have I seen it
It's
late?
the new show Kirsty
No.
because it's got Kramer
Oh,
on
okay,
it.
I get it.
No.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So
it's- I
that's
gotta
on.
say,
When's that on? Do you know?
I don't remember which night.
Once a week?
That's still
Yeah.
a pretty
Okay.
balance.
Yeah.
Go check it
it's,
out.
Check it out, my man.
That one in same thing like Hot in Cleveland.
So
with,
5.7.
I
Betty
don't-
White.
Is that what
I
it is?
don't watch much TV.
Yeah,
So that's
you know, it's
still
funny.
40 billion.
I don't have time.
Right?
Yeah. Now, the problem is I have
That's a
time, but
lot
I
of
like to go to sleep.
Yeah.
The old man's sleeping.
Outstanding balances.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
And away we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Rob Spinoza. When we get to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question about which television mother was I? And again, we wanted the name of the mother, not the TV show. Which TV mom had 3 daughters and 3 stepsons whose husband was an architect? Marsha.
Alice.
No, Alice, no.
Jan.
No.
Cindy.
No. Okay, what was the name of the show?
Brady
The Brady
yeah.
Bunch. Okay, what was the mother's name?
I can't think of it.
Carol.
Oh,
Brady.
that's
Oh, wow.
Florence Henderson. Florence Henderson.
stump the host again.
That's it. Okay. You guys have some interesting articles you're going to cover?
Yeah, sure.
Who's on first? No, we're just looking over these national mortgage news releases here. That a couple of great ones that Robert brought in. I'm enjoying this one. Mortgage balances increased the most since 2008. So basically, what it's saying is that we have now that the total value of all first mortgages has now surpassed the prior high.
They're not talking about adjustable rate mortgages that had.
No. Yeah, not the balances or the rates of those. But what's interesting is we've got 2 articles here. They're both going back to 2008, and the balance increase is significant in my mind because it indicates 2 things. One is the growth of new mortgages, so more people borrowing, and that hopefully reflecting a more activity in the housing market.
It's all those neg am loans they came out with.
Yeah, that would be problematic. But no, most of those, and that actually gets at the point too. The decline in mortgage balances from accelerated amortization and foreclosure write-offs has finally been overcome by the increases.
Wow.
So you got two different trains moving in the right direction, which hasn't happened in a while.
So what's interesting is the number is 8 trillion. Actually, they say
Yeah, that's right.
7.97, but that's
Total
8 in my
outstanding
book. So
balance,
so 8 trillion in outstanding mortgages. But one thing they don't point out or they don't highlight in this article, but I think it's significant. They talk about how delinquent first mortgages are down 22% from a year ago to 5.7%. But do the math: 5.7% of 8 trillion. That's over 40 billion worth of
we are a nation
delinquent mortgages.
Yeah, of delinquent mortgages.
Delinquent,
yeah,
so
I mean,
$40 billion worth of mortgages in the United States, if that number is accurate,
delinquent,
are
like
still delinquent.
notice of default.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
that's
not
what I'm saying.
paying.
Right.
They're just not paying.
I'm
Whether-
assuming
whether
it
that's-
technically could be 30 days, right?
Yeah.
So, but it makes you wonder too. Where does that all end up? Where does that, how does that movie play out? Because will those end up as houses back on the market, or what happens?
Well,
You probably know more about this than I do.
It's shadow inventory. It's
Correct.
a lot smaller shadow. It's certainly not the second wave that never came
Right.
of foreclosures that people were predicting to happen in maybe 10 or 11. But it's not an insignificant number. I mean, and it depending on how you count it, I've heard numbers all over the map in terms of let's bring it to California. I've heard it said and quoted in some of the real estate blogs I read that there's still 1 million homes in California that, for all intents and purposes, are at or near underwater. They can't be sold because they owe at least what it's worth.
That 5% number, I don't know how worthwhile that is, because you can have a lot of houses that have $1 million mortgage, or a lot of these houses can have $100,000 mortgages.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge difference. What we have to look at is how many houses.
How many houses are compose that total? Yeah, and I would back up what Mark says too. I see that, and to your point, Edward, I see when I see a scenario and they're looking to do something with their financing, if the house is at or near value or underwater, that has been happening. I've witnessed across the spectrum. It's not only tied to the $150,000 loan in Riverside County. It can be just as easily a house in Rancho Palos Verdes that's got $1.5 million worth of debt on it. So I think that there's more to that as well. The details, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, well, a lot of these numbers that we talk about what's happening in the real estate market right now, which is really perplexing in many ways. It reminds me, because I'm old enough to remember, of the 80s when we coined the term stagflation.
Yeah, interesting.
And so what do I mean by that? Well, you've got a market that, we had 25,000 housing units sell in California in February, when a healthy market is over 40,000 units. We're nowhere near selling the kind of units per month that a healthy California market would expect to see, and yet housing prices in many markets have now exceeded the prior high from 2008. We had double-digit growth in price appreciation in 2013, yet for all the people that want to buy a home, they can't because there's not enough inventory. Home builders are not building and adding to the stock, but you've got an article here that says the value of mortgages in America is now higher than the prior high, so that must be a good thing, I guess. But but if you want to buy a house today, or rent a house today in California or in the Bay Area particularly, good luck.
Yeah, it's hard to draw conclusions from a lot of this. I have some stats here from San Francisco, and I realize it's highly localized, but 2 in every 5 sales sold for 10% or more over list price.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's 40%.
40%.
So 40 in San Francisco, 40% of sales are more than 10% over asking.
Over list price.
Over
So
list
so
price.
list asking, but 1 in 6 sold for 20% or more over list price.
That's just
that's
astounding.
Yeah.
And how recent is that?
That is February.
Because I remember last year,
mid-March.
there was this frenzy.
Yeah.
It seemed to cool down.
Well, again, I think that reflects lack of inventory.
City is tough,
in the competition among people with wealth, and that's, again, the 1% argument, all those people who are making a killing in tech in San Francisco, and the tech industry in San Francisco is the dominant industry right
I mean,
now.
when you say lack of inventory, I mean, the houses didn't disappear per se.
Well, right, but
So what is going on? People just aren't moving.
There's not as many listings as there were in what would be considered a healthy environment, because I think it's still because when you don't have prices that are higher than the high of 2006 and 7, you've got people trapped with not enough equity to sell.
I also think there's another thing afoot here, and it goes into the stock market mentality. You've heard, no doubt, you guys have heard the old adage, sell your winners.
Yeah.
That's a very hard thing for people to do. More people are inclined to sell their turkeys, which is why they get out of the housing market when prices are down. But the other thing that I think is happening here in the Bay Area is that homeowners are witnessing this appreciation. They may have passed the 2006 watermark, and they're like, cool, we got back to where we were. Let's ride this thing out as far as we can. It's like having a winter stock, and you're looking at the value go up day after day or week after week, and you're thinking, I'm going to hold on to this as long as I possibly can. Eventually, you could risk ending up on the wrong side of that equation, but in real estate, you don't have the liquidity that you have in the stock market, so moving out of your house is a big deal.
Well,
and you can't play it that way.
And lack of inventory or low inventory is a self-defeating cycle, because then you've got a
Right.
situation where people won't sell
Well said.
if they don't believe they can find another house to buy. So they're
Right.
looking to. So what's happening now? The trend now is, and this is different. This is historically new. Historically, that is, you buy the house you want to move into first before you sell the house you're living in now.
And not too many people can qualify.
Right.
So I could imagine Mark Romp's doing very well.
We get a lot of private money loan applications from people who are looking to buy their next primary residence first before they put their existing one on the market. That is a very brand new trend based on the lack of inventory and the fear that they're going to sell their home and not be able to buy another one.
Right. And to do that, what we call that in the residential mortgage industry is a departure property. So depending on your equity position in the house you're leaving to buy the new one, will determine whether or not you can use proposed rent on the new property, if that's what you plan to do. But where you're talking about a true situation where you're just trying to get into a new primary home, you end up in a bridge situation if you've got the equity to do it. And you've got to try and work that angle to make it go.
These fancy terms, MID and departure property, and pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we are now.
I'll try and think of some more and make
we
some
are
more up on the way through the show.
I just wanted to end the segment by just saying we are in spring.
Yeah.
We are officially in spring, and I shared last week how I noticed in my hometown of Nevada when I logged on the MLS, I was shocked at how many new listings there were. I mean, it was night and day difference from February to March. How many new listings were suddenly appeared on the market? So there is some signs of hope.
Good,
So
yeah.
Let's see what happens in the
optimistic.
coming weeks and months
Agreed.
for 2014.
Very good. All right. Again, we're cutting to a commercial break here. Theme is, which television mother was I? And again, remember, we want the name of the mother, not the TV show. Second trivia question, second commercial break. Which TV mother was a psychology student who had 3 sons and a husband who enjoyed power tools? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which TV mother was a psychology student who had 3 sons and a husband who enjoyed power tools? That's the hint, power tools, right? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email 1 letter at a time. Don't touch that dial. You know what's going on. The best of investing. It'll be right back.
That's not the one where her name is the same as one of the months of the year, is it?
No.
That's John and Kate plus 8, right?
It's not June Cleaver?
I wouldn't even know her last name.
No. Power. She didn't have 3 sons.
My 3 sons?
No.
Power tools.
Don't say it.
But I don't know her name.
There's the tricky part.
You got to stump them.
Was his name Tim?
Yes.
And I tried to think of her
Tim
name
was
too.
one
What's her name? That's right.
I could see it. you
Oh,
know,
all
they-
right, now I know
having
where
an
you're
argument
going.
back and forth.
What's her name now?
Mrs. Tim.
Mrs. Tim. Yeah, there you go. That
Tim
works.
Allen, right?
Yeah.
That the one, yeah.
What happened to him?
I don't know.
I think it was a-
I still see
He went to infinity and beyond.
I was confusing him with Jeff Foxworthy.
He's funny.
He is funny. You might be a redneck.
Yeah.
Those things go on and on and on, man. That is great.
Bill Engvall's pretty funny. I don't care for the Here's Your Card, but he had a couple of funny ones.
Tool Time, right? And then he
Yeah.
made some movies, Santa Claus movies. and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So he did. Yeah,
For a while, he was really
He was
really
hot.
big. Yeah.
He still like
maybe
Buzz
took a
Lightyear.
break. Decided to go
Yeah.
take a year-long.
That's got to be a
sabbatical.
tough industry to like stay on
Oh,
top
man.
of. You know, it's like I'm sure you at a certain point you're like I made enough money, I'm out. I'm just gonna go take it easy.
Then you get bored.
And
That'd
then
be
you
nice.
do what Mark and I are doing. We're taking every day. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I don't look at it too far. Vacations a lot of times are kind of like, oh my god, okay, well I gotta do with the family and all that stuff. But he and I are going to do a cruise, and I am like, I can't wait. I'm gonna have so much fun. We're gonna dig ourselves into a snowboard now.
You go, boy.
Can't get a DUI.
yeah, that's right, unless I'm driving the boat.
Driving while walking, drunk while walking.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Rob Spinoza. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Again, the theme is, which television mother was I? And we wanted the name of the mother, not the TV show. Which TV mother was a psychology student who had 3 sons and a husband who enjoyed power tools? Now, first of all, what was the name of the show?
Not Tool Time.
No, that was the show.
Tim
within the
Allen.
show. Tim Allen. Okay, Home Improvement.
That's
Home
right.
Improvement, that's right.
And the name?
I don't know.
It was Jill Taylor. Jill Taylor. Okay.
Stumped again.
Yes.
Again, and the last one.
We would
oh
all
my
be
God.
sent down on this if we were playing baseball. We would have
That's true.
Yeah,
Go
Sent
the
down to the
D-League.
minors.
double A.
Double
Maybe
A,
worse.
yeah, maybe worse. Okay. Going into a little bit of emails here. Mark, we have an email from a listener who says, have any of the loans you have ever done lost money?
Hey, good question. And the answer is no. Now, look, in all fairness, I will say that when I started Pacific Private Money, it was post-real estate crash. Although at the time I started in 2008, I didn't realize that real estate prices were still going down.
Right.
Because I remember 2008 clearly, and again, I've been a real estate investor for over 30 years, since 1982. And so a lot of us in the real estate market at the time in 2008, when we saw that first wave of price depreciation, I was looking at some properties I remember in Sacramento where some new homes had sold at the height of the market for around $600,000, and suddenly they were available at $400,000. And I knew some people who actually bought them in early '08 because they had gone down in price $200,000. They thought, this is a bargain. I'm going to buy at the bottom. Well,
And it's still
those
went
same
down.
houses went all the way down to $250.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
who
in
knew?
2009, then
Yes.
early 10 was probably low.
So I started Pacific Private Money to provide capital for real estate investors after in 2008, after the real estate the mortgage market meltdown, as we remember in the fall of 2008, and to provide liquidity for real estate investors. And those have been my primary clients for the last 6 years now, and we've done over 600 loans since that time. We've only had 2 loans that actually went into foreclosure, where the property actually went to auction and went back to the lender, the private lender who had funded that loan. And in both cases, they have not lost money. In fact, one in particular is Thrilled, has a great little fourplex. The other one has 2 single-family residences. So in both cases, and they haven't sold yet, so they haven't realized any profits. But their money, they both believe that their money ahead. So
okay, but in prior to that, what they call a notice of default gets filed. So how many have gone into notice of default?
I don't have that number in terms of how many times we have filed an NOD, because in some cases, in loans that I originated in the earlier years, in 9 and 10, I allowed a lot of my private lenders to go ahead and self-service, meaning I would originate the loan.
Oh, okay.
Their name would be on it. They'd collect the interest, and so I don't
You
actually
don't have those,
know.
yeah.
But
Okay, but you do have maybe stats for the ones that you service, so you know.
it's a very low number. It's
a
like
dozen?
It's less than
Less-
5%. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like even less than, I think it's closer to 2%.
Right.
For the
Okay,
those.
and
So-
so with the ones that didn't, okay, so only 2 of them gone full cycle. That meant that those borrowers ended up coming up with the money, plus the interest, plus late fees and default interest. and all
Right.
that.
So the loans
Because
were
you got that equity cushion.
Right, so the loans
Yeah.
we're originating are paying, 8% or more on a monthly basis to the private lenders. And so when a borrower is delinquent, we have a 10% late charge after 10 days. So we're not really, we're not messing around. These are not consumer home loans for the most part. Most of the loans we do are to real estate investors who have borrowed the money for an investment or business purpose. And so our leashes are shorter. So 10 days, 10%, and if they go several months without paying, we have the right to exercise the default rate of interest, which on our promissory note is the note rate plus an additional 4%. So if they were paying 10%, now suddenly it's 14%. I'll tell you, nothing motivates someone to figure out a way how to
Sell their children.
make their keep their promises than by having the default rate of interest suddenly. And again, it's not this is not predatory lending, even though you might be thinking that's horrible. You hard money guys are. No, it's these are guys that come to us and say, I'm going to buy, fix, and flip this property, and here's my plan, here's my budget, here's the money I'm going to put down, and so we make them this short-term loan, and sometimes stuff happens, and it may or may not be their fault, but again, we have these terms built into the promissory note to motivate action. It's not to be punitive per se or to be predatory. It's just that, look, this is a business loan. We've made a bargain here in terms of we'll provide the capital, but under these terms and conditions, you got to keep your word.
And you have the right to be gracious and forgive some of the.
Well, and oftentimes
late
we
fees.
do. I'll tell you, a lot of my lenders do not exercise. They'll even waive late fees and don't exercise the default rate of interest. But then other lenders, they will. They won't mess around. If that payment comes in on the 11th, they want that 10% added to the next bill. So again, really, my lenders generally, they invest in mortgage-backed investments because they want monthly interest. They don't want to foreclose on the property. We don't want to foreclose on the property. We make the damages or the default items punitive in nature because we want them to perform. We want them to make the payments on time. We don't want them to be late. We don't want them to go into default.
You're trying to promote efficiency in the system.
Yeah,
because if everybody starts defaulting, then you may get the sale on them. But that's not how you.
And at the end of the day, we're not kicking someone out of their home.
Right.
That's the most important part. Is we are not kicking people out of their homes. These are investment properties. And if something goes wrong, we need to be able to step in quickly and resolve it and get that property remodeled properly and sold.
Well, that investor, just by way of example, that investor, when you impose the additional rate of interest on those loans, that investor is not like you said, he's not being kicked out of a house, but he may have additional investments that he has prioritized, and you're going to remind him, no, sorry, I'm the priority.
Exactly. That's we used to call it gentle handcuffs.
Right,
It's like, we want to make sure that you look at us first.
First, exactly.
Forget your credit cards, forget everything else.
Well, a lot of people go to private money or hard money. You can use either term. They're both correct in today's market environment. A lot of people come to us for a private money loan because they would rather pay a high rate of interest and points and fees associated with getting that loan instead of going out and finding a money partner for whom they would split the profits 50-50. So look, it's not like, oh, we're making loans to people in distress who have no other options. No. These are people that have a business plan. They're going, I'm going to get into this buy, fix, and flip market. I'm going to make profits in real estate. I could go out and find my own money partner, and we could go buy properties all cash, which a lot of people do, by the way.
Right.
And fix and flip properties with my own investors, or I could call Market Pacific Private Money and he can get me a loan. Now I'm not going to get 100% financing, but I've got a little bit of capital over here, or I get money from friends or family or mom or dad or whomever, or I do have a couple of private lenders and I'm going to leverage that little bit of capital that we've put together by using a hard money loan to buy even more property. So again, there's a lot of ways that people come to us with their various business models, and we analyze those business models, and we've got some great repeat clients. But stuff does happen, and you have to have a strong contract, and our promissory notes are a strong contract to incentivize people to keep their word, keep their promises, and perform as agreed.
And remind the audience what you're paying out on the fund, because you have Gil Gross who endorses you. And
The radio ads on this very station, AM 910, have been great. Gil Gross has done a great job for us.
I heard that one. That was.
Well, we get calls every time it airs in the afternoons. We get a batch of calls, and we just went recently over $4 million on the fund. In capital raised. We just launched the fund in early 2013, but we've got about 20 loans in the fund right now. Of course, all are performing. They're short-term loans. Two loans that we recently funded are very, very short-term, where it looks like the borrower is going to hope to pay us back in 60 or 90 days.
Oh, wow.
And again, the fund model really benefits our shareholders are experiencing about an 8.5% yield. And what's nice about that is that people who invest in individual notes do so because they like the control and they like the idea that they can get 9, even 10, sometimes 11%. But the problem is that nowadays it's individual note investments are so hard to find for the individual investor. They're so popular that oftentimes people who previously had a lot of their money invested in individual notes, now they're in cash. They're calling me going, Mark, what do you got? How come you haven't seen anything from you in a while? And I tell them, well, that's because I'm using my fund, and you're welcome to make an investment in the fund and enjoy some of that return. Because on an annualized basis, at 8.5% on an annualized basis, people who will go in and out of a 10% note on an annualized basis, they're generally only getting about 8%.
Yeah,
at the most. In fact, that reminds me, before we go to a quick break, I wanted to mention that there's a hard money lender down in Southern California who I've been on their list. And I'd say out of 30 loans, only one of them was actually even decent. And then when I responded and said, yeah, I'm interested, about 5 minutes later, they got back to me and they said, sorry, it's taken. It's like, God, why even send it to me now, Okay, we're going to cut to our third commercial break here. And before we do, again, I just want to give a little shout out here to our friends at OARS, O-A-R-S. If you guys ever gone to Whitewater River?
I have not.
It's awesome.
I hear it's great. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. You can do anywhere from easy one to a very challenging one.
It's scary if you go to the Whitewater ones.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes you need a helmet, sometimes you don't. I've done it before, and I've done both. Check them out at oars.com, OARS.com. National Geographic Adventure says that they're the best river and sea outfitter on Earth. They've been doing guided tours since 1969. Okay, here's our third and final commercial break, and again, the theme is, which television mother was I? Which TV mom's husband owned a hardware store and originally had 3 children when the show first aired, but then you only got to see 2 of them for the rest of the series? And I'm going to give you a hint. One of the son's friends was very cool. The first 3 callers with the correct answer won a free. That probably cinched it for you. Hey! Stop doing that. Okay, the first 3 callers. If I didn't say that, you wouldn't have said that, right? Okay, the first 3 callers with the correct answer won a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. In fact, here's a bonus question for you. The third son, who you hardly saw, what was his name on the show?
Oh, wow.
Okay, call 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which TV mom's husband owned a hardware store, originally had 3 children when the show first aired, but you only got to see 2 of them later on in the series? And the hint, one of the son's friend was very cool. And again, we want the name of the mother, not looking for the name of the TV show. Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing will come right back with a very interesting email for Rob and some thoughts for the day. They're actually very funny. Okay.
Heard it either.
Mrs. Cunningham.
That's right.
Yeah, but what's a
No idea.
Hey, Max. Hey, buddy, how are you? Good. Where are you nowadays? Yeah, I kind of figured. So how do we get you guys the? I guess. Oh, you know what? I think Marco, when I was just out doing something, he sent you guys the email of the documents. So did you get those documents? Okay. So. Yes. Just a signature. Yeah, one needs an initial, one needs a signature, and then there's two that actually need a notary signature. So I wouldn't sign or initial anything until you bring it in front of a notary. Okay. Yep. Correct.
Speaking about the
Yes.
buyer right now.
Yeah, and the notary, even though it looks like it's double, it's on purpose because the notary actually, believe it or not, has to do the notary on both of those, even though it's on one piece of paper, because she's notarizing two different signatures for
She
you.
gets a 30, she qualifies for rates in the full.
All right, and then you have our address, right?
She doesn't qualify for the lower rate.
You have our address.
She doesn't get
Send it back.
Yeah, she doesn't get that. No rate qualifying rate.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
That's nuts.
Yeah. No, correct. We do need the actual wet signatures. All right. Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. It's my client who's a baseball player. Actually, he was a professional baseball player. His son's a professional baseball player, and he's a coach now. In fact, his son's doing very well. Just signed a 2-year, $8 million contract.
Nice.
Yeah. Excuse me. Let me just say, I need to. He's really hard to get a hold of because he's always playing baseball.
Have you, on your previous shows, covered the $200 million life insurance policy? Have you gone into that?
No.
The guy, the Silicon Valley guy, that they don't know who it is, but
Oh wow!
bought the $200 million life insurance
Wow.
policy.
They were the largest one before that was
100.
George Steinbrenner had one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was 30 years ago.
No, I think they said David Geffen had a $100 million policy.
Yeah, so I think it was 50 million before, so now it's 100 million.
Right.
200 million. Jeez, but I would have loved to be the agent on that one.
They said it took 20 houses to.
Yeah,
Put the deal
There's no one company that would
Yeah.
handle that. Wonder what the premium? How old's the guy?
The premium they said was a 7-figure premium.
Wow.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Especially 20 houses, they're all just gonna. They're not giving up.
So what's the deal? So the reason that it takes multiple houses to underwrite it is because.
No, there's not so much underwriting. It's the risk. They're reinsuring. It's too much
Okay.
risk for one company.
Well, yeah, no one wants to foot a $200 million payout all by themselves.
Yeah, but then wouldn't, like you said, wouldn't they reinsure it? Or no, they have to have it, right? They have to have the capital.
Yeah, they have to do it. They have to do it all in one
Yeah.
shot. Something like that. You're a good guy. Trying to take a short peg from 5.6 million.
So I didn't give my contact info, so I'm going to do it real quick when we can
Yes.
come back from the break.
Okay.
Just give the Money Fund website just for more information on making millions on here.
So basically, guys like that, because they're earning now, they want to do the short pay and just get it done with. Is that what it is?
Well, it's a complicated thing. I
Yeah.
can't really get into it right now. Logs made sometimes too. I'm trying to get my.
No, I find that stuff fascinating. That's why I ask.
Yeah, 4 different parcels. We're the last one. We're actually getting 50 cents on the dollar, but it's higher than what the market value is. So it's a good deal. was. It's a short segment, 7 minutes. Ready?
Yep.
We'll get into your how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
Rob. Okay.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff and Rob Spinoza. When we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question again. The theme is, which television mother was I? Which TV mom's husband owned a hardware store and originally had 3 children when the show first aired, but then you only get to see 2 of them after like 9 episodes. The hint was one of the friend's son was very cool. So what was the name of the show?
So Happy Days.
Happy Days.
Yes.
Yeah, I know
Mrs.
that.
Cunningham.
This Cunningham, what was her first name?
Marion?
Marion.
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 Okay, the bonus question. What was the son's name that you never got to see? Except after the
Didn't
first 9
remember.
episodes. Chuck. You had Richie Cunningham, his older brother Chuck, always bouncing a basketball. Okay, Mark, when we cut to the break, we forgot to tell people how to get a hold of you because they get good interest rate.
Oh, sure. So if you're interested in more information about mortgage investing and how you might be able to take some of your savings, especially your self-directed IRA monies, and you want to diversify that into some alternative investment strategies for high yield, we're currently paying 8.5% from the Pacific Private Money Fund. You can actually find out more information online. The fund's website can be found at pacificmoneyfund.com. 3 words, pacificmoneyfund.com.
Great.
Or, of course, call us. You can call this weekend, leave a message. We'll get a hold of you next week at 415-883-2150. That's 415-883-2150.
All right, and Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage, we have an email for you that kind of fit in with what we were talking about
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
Question, we're trying to buy a home, but the market is very competitive,
Yeah.
and our offers keep getting beat by others. Is there anything we can do to be more competitive?
That is a great question. It's a very timely question. And earlier in the show, we were talking about San Francisco, for example. 2 in every 5 sales sold for 10% or more above list price. 1 in every 6 sold for 20%. So what I'm seeing out there is if you are in contract or you're trying to get into contract on a desirable property, there's going to be a lot of competition for that. The agents that I've been working with on both the buyer side and the selling agents, what they're looking for are the strongest offers. Naturally, they have to go back to their seller. They have a responsibility to the seller of the home to get the highest and best offer. Now, you would think that price would be a big component of that, and it is. So I would say to this caller that make sure that your agent is structuring the deal. You're offering the right price. You're going to have to leave their judgment or leave it to their judgment to know what that is. But beyond that, what I'm seeing a lot of, and some of it is a little bit unsettling, is a lot of these buyers are going in there and they're waiving all of their contingencies. So basically they're telling the seller, I'm going to buy this property no matter what. So once you accept my offer, if an inspection that I do reveals something, I'm not holding that against you.
Pretty
It's
scary.
Pretty scary,
Yeah.
right? They are saying that if the appraisal doesn't come in, I'm not going to hold you to that.
Well,
And finally, they're saying, even though I am getting a loan, I'm not going to have a financing contingency.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of agents coming to us asking us, look, we want to get these people into contract. Can we waive the financing contingency? Now, it's not something I would do myself, but I understand the market. And we at RPM are now offering what's basically known as a TBD approval. So a to be determined. Here you go, Edward.
Yeah, more initials.
More initials.
Okay, go ahead.
Right.
I work for the TVA. And,
Yeah.
So I work for RPM actually. But a TBD approval, what we're doing that's different is we're not just giving you a pre-approval. We are then taking that file, we are giving it to an underwriter, and an underwriter is underwriting your loan as it will be approved when you eventually have a property. Now, the reason banks don't like to do this is they don't like to expend a lot of underwriting resources on things that won't go anywhere, obviously. But we're in an environment right now in the Bay Area where this is the way it is. And so our CEO has said, look, we're going to offer this to our clients. And therefore, when you go out there, you will have the option. Again, we're not telling you to do it.
All your ducks lined up.
You're getting all your ducks in a row, and we're giving you the option to go in and say, look, seller, I am willing to waive my financing contingency. If I don't get the loan, that's my problem. It's not yours. We're still coming up with the funds to buy the house. So that is one thing I would say is available out
That's
there.
very valuable.
It's extremely
Yeah.
valuable,
How do
and
people get a hold of you for that?
they can look me up on the Best of Investing website. My bio is there, and my contact information as well. You can call me at 415-367-5959. I work out of the Mill Valley office of RPM Mortgage, and as Mark said earlier, I'm also available on the weekends. So
Yeah, and even though
try to-
we have a lot of listeners from Santa Rosa to San Jose,
Yeah, no problem.
just the fact that you're in Mill Valley, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff like just via fax or
Yeah, it's very easy. I can help
email.
borrowers throughout the state. So if you're listening on iHeartRadio,
Yeah.
you can get a hold of me. If you're in California, I can help directly.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Any last? We have about 45 seconds before we get our thoughts for the day.
Oh, just to go down on a knee and run the clock out, or
Okay. Well.
no.
That's all right. Okay.
I'll talk.
That was a quick 45 seconds. Okay. So, you guys, we all kind of work out at the gym, right?
Yep.
We all exercise. Okay.
Yep.
So I figured out though that for the price of a 1-year gym membership, I could just replace my entire wardrobe with larger clothes, right? Just
And
let
have a
myself get
sling
out of
effect.
shape.
No, I don't think that
Yeah,
works
it's-
the same.
Yeah, I don't think my wife would appreciate that.
Well, a well-tailored suit might give you a few pounds back, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true. That is a good point. And if a dog is man's best friend, a cat is man's snooty, passive-aggressive girlfriend.
yeah.
And if you have
Love my
cats,
cats.
you'll understand. I mean, I think I work for them.
Oh, but yeah,
I
and
have
that's
cats. I
the
mean,
way it should be.
I love cats. I love
I
cats.
love 'em.
But it's true.
Yeah, they control that relationship.
Yeah, dogs. It's amazing. They're just completely different.
Yep.
All right. Tune in next week to the best of investing. Why? Because we're going to be having more interesting guests, more co-hosts, more
A
everything.
lot of fun to be on the show.
And all
Thank you,
those
Edward. Yeah.
great free vacations.
And more for how many?
9.
9 more free vacations
We're
for
giving
answering
them away.
trivia questions. Now you got to answer the trivia questions though.
Oh, that's true.
We're not just giving them away. All right, audience, thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Would your arm get tired?
Cool.
You didn't point at me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's it.